The Senate will come to order. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores, Gutierrez, Hagenbu, Hall, Hancock, Hinojosa of Nueces, Hinojosa of Hidalgo, Huffman, Hughes, Johnson, King, Colcourse, Menendez, Middleton, Miles, Nichols, Parker, Paxton, Perry, Schwartner, Sparks, West, Zaffarini.
A quorum is present. Please rise for the invocation to be delivered by Pastor Roy F. Jones II of New Hope Baptist Church in Austin. Welcome, Pastor Jones.
Thank you, sir. Shall we pray? Almighty God, our Father, we thank thee for another day of life, for your kindness, for your tender mercy, and your amazing grace. We just say thank you for all you have done for us. Before we can ask you for anything, we thank you for everything. We ask that you bless our endeavors as we strive to serve your people, this great nation and the great state of Texas. We start this session with prayers. We ask for your direction. Your word in the book of Proverbs says, in all thy ways acknowledge you, and you will direct our path. Our Father, give us clarity as we work together in love. Give us strength and courage to work together for the good of all the people, for we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, for the tall or the short person, for the short hair or long haired person, for the Longhorn or the Aggie, we are all your children. Keep this state in Texas in your care and continue to bless this great country of America. Lord, bless our governor, our Senate, and every servant who serves this great state of Texas, along with the people of Texas. We honor you today and bless your holy name. Lord, we pray that our service to your people will be pleasing in your sight. This is our prayer. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Jones, for those good words. This morning you may be seated, those in the gallery. The Dean of the Senate moves to excuse Senator King on account of important family business. Is there objection? The chair hears none. Motion's adopted. The Dean of the Senate moves to dispense with the reading of yesterday's journal. Is there objection? Chair hears none. The motion's adopted. The following message from the governor. The secretary will read the message.
To the Senate of the 89th Legislature, regular session, I ask the advice, consent, and confirmation of the Senate with respect to the following appointments. To members of the Texas School Safety Center Board: Nydia de la Cerda, Corpus Christi; Robert P. Rob McClelland, Austin; James M. Mosley, Borger; Noe E. Perez, Laguna Vista; Michael L. Slaughter, Wiley; Jill M. Tate, Colleyville. To be judge of the 62nd Judicial District, Delta, Franklin, Hopkins, and Lamar counties: William H. Bill Harris, Paris. Respectfully submitted, Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas, to nominations.
The chair recognizes Senator West to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members. I am honored to present the Doctor of the Day and her students. Dr. Amika Nishigaki is an assistant professor in the Department of Family and Community Medicine at the UT Southwestern Medical Center. Dr. Nishigaki earned her medical degree at UT Southwestern and completed her residency there also. She's certified by the American Board of Family Medicine. She joined the UT staff faculty in 2023. Dr. Nishigaki's clinical interests include lifestyle medicine. Her publications include a contribution to a book, a clinical case book of sleep disorders in women. I'm going to ask you to help us men also in their sleep disorders. When she's not working, she enjoys playing board games, going to trivia nights, and climbing. With Dr. Nishigaki are a few medical student residents at UT Southwestern, and I'm glad that they're here to understand and appreciate what goes on in the state capitol. Members, will you please welcome Dr. Nishigaki?
Chair lays out the following resolution. The secretary will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 215 by Eckhart, recognizing the American Society of Landscape Architects on the occasion of its 125th anniversary.
Chair recognizes Senator Eckhart on the resolution.
Thank you so much, and I'd like to recognize all of our tremendous architects up in the gallery. If you will draw your attention to the, this is going to challenge my architectural skills, the southeast corner of the gallery where we have our architects. This is I've always said that architects were artists who did math. Thank you so much for the built environment. The vertical beauty of our state is owed to you. And we deeply appreciate you all being here and advising us as we write the laws that so impact your profession. I'd also like to recognize a couple of my constituents up in the gallery. Brent Luck, partner with Luck Design, doing amazing things in landscape architecture. So not just vertical, also our horizontal. And also Sean Masick, Vice President of Pape Dawson, with whom I have had long association. Thank you so much, and members, if we could just take a moment to recognize these fine folk with a round of applause.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. Resolution is adopted. Chair lays out the following resolution. The secretary will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 247 by Paxton et al., recognizing March 13, 2025 as Collin College Day at the state capitol.
Chair recognizes Senator Paxton on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, members. Members, I'd like to ask you to join me in welcoming the Collin College delegation who are here with us today in the gallery. Would you please stand? Okay, there's just a few of them. I don't know if you can see them, but everybody over here, welcome to your state capitol. Welcome to the Texas Senate. I am so proud to serve as your senator. And Collin College was founded in 1985. That's kind of crazy to me. That's the year I graduated from college. And so y'all kind of took the baton and kept it going. And I'm so proud of the work Collin College has done up in Collin County. It's approaching its 40th anniversary on April 6th of 2025. As a premier educational institution in Texas, Collin College has successful baccalaureate degree programs that are helping to meet the workforce needs in our communities, such as nursing. And I would like to just acknowledge a few of the delegates of the Collin College delegation. Mary McClure, the Assistant Vice President of Business and Government Relations. Would you wave, Mary? There are 160 students in the gallery. That's right, and you're so dedicated that you were even willing to miss a day of school to be with us today. Also, faculty and staff that are with us, if you would wave. Well, thank you. You know, the core values of Collin College are learning, service and involvement, creativity and innovation, academic excellence, dignity and respect, and integrity. And I'm so proud of the work Collin College has done to instill those values in the students. I was a teacher. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. It was a big thing for my parents. They wanted me to have opportunities that they did not have. And I know many of you may be the first person in your family to go to college. Anybody up in the gallery this morning that you're the first person in your family? But I know that everyone on this floor agrees that the students of today literally are our future for Texas. Thank you, faculty and staff, for what you're doing to pay it forward. Thank you, students, for taking seriously the opportunity that you have. And welcome to your Texas Senate and your Texas Capitol. God bless you guys.
Chair recognizes Senator Hagenbuch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm pleased to join Senator Paxton in recognizing Collin College here today for its remarkable contributions to higher education and workforce development. I just want to also thank the faculty and staff and the students that are here today. It's great to see you all. I know that your colors are blue and white, so I tried to do my best job I could of just in blue and white. So I got to get one of those scarves, though. Those are fantastic. The Frisco and Salina campuses especially serve my district, SD 30. As Collin College approaches its 40th anniversary, as Senator Paxton said, on April 6th, it continues to serve as a cornerstone of academic excellence and career training. With more than 60,000 students enrolled, it plays a critical role in one of the fastest growing regions of the country. The Frisco campus stands out as a leader in workforce education, offering cutting-edge programs tailored to meet the industry needs in fields like business, healthcare, and technology. Meanwhile, the Salina campus represents a bold investment in expanding access to high-quality, affordable education, one of Texas' most rapidly growing communities. With the lowest tuition in Texas, Collin College was recently recognized as the top higher education institution in the state for improving the lives through upward economic mobility, as we saw earlier, several were the first generation, strengthening the economic well-being of the students and the community. Through its 10 campuses and centers, including the iCollin virtual campus, the college continues to expand opportunities for learners while staying committed to affordable innovation. Excuse me. Offering more than 200 degrees and certificates, Collin College is now approaching its legislative cap and bachelor's degrees, further demonstrating its growing impact in Texas workforce. Collin College has been a driving force shaping the future of our state for nearly 4 decades. The commitment to excellence, accessibility, and workforce readiness is transforming lives and strengthening the community. I'm proud to have Collin College and some of your campuses in my district. Just want to say I appreciate all you do for the students and the community, and welcome to your capital. Thank you, Mr. President.
The chair recognizes Senator Paxton to close on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. And, you know, as a parent, I also appreciate the great work that you do. All 4 of my now grown children took classes at Collin College, and it helped them and it helped us as a family, helped them academically, helped us financially as a family. I'm so proud of the work you're doing. You keep going, keep making Texas better, keep making North Texas better. We love you. We're so glad you're here. And Mr. President, I move adoption.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. Resolution is adopted. Chair lays out the following resolutions. The secretary will read the resolutions.
SR 248 by Johnson, SR 249 by Johnson, SR 250 by Hughes, SR 251 by Hughes, SR 252 by Hughes, SR 253 by Hughes, SR 254 by Hughes, SR 255 by Hughes, and SR 256 by Hughes.
Members, this is a voice vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Resolutions are adopted. Members, if there are no objections, I would like to postpone the reading and referral of bills and resolutions until the end of today's calendar. Hearing no objection, so ordered. Members, that concludes the morning call. Senator Zaffarini is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 523.
Microphone is stuck. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business and the constitutional order of business in order to take up and consider at this time the committee substitute for Senate Bill 523, which relates to issuing a driver's license to a certain person that includes an alternative to the license holder's residence address. Members, this bill simply would add parole and probation officers to the list of the people who are eligible to list a business address on their Texas driver's license card or Texas identification card. Mr. President, I move suspension.
Senator Zaffarini moves suspension of the constitutional order and the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 523. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Secretary will. Chair lays out on second reading committee substitute for Senate Bill 523. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 523 relating to the issuance of a driver's license to certain persons that includes an alternative to the license holder's residence address.
Dean Zaffarini is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to engrossment.
Dean Zaffarini moves passage to engrossment. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Dean Zaffarini is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the constitutional rule that bills be heard on 3 several days.
Dean Zaffarini moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Bardwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores, Gutierrez.
There being 30 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed to engrossment. The rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading committee substitute for Senate Bill 523. Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 523 relating to the issuance of a driver's license to certain persons that includes an alternative to the license holder's residence address.
Dean Zaffarini is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage.
Dean Zaffarini moves final passage of committee substitute for Senate Bill 523. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Bardwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores.
There being 30 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is finally passed.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Senator Sparks is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on Senate Bill 971.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members. I move at this time to suspend the regular order of business and the constitutional order of business in order to take up and consider Senate Bill 971. Members, this is a cleanup bill. Last session, House Bill 3582 established the agreed-upon definition of rural water in collaboration with the Texas Water Development Board and stakeholders. Senate Bill 469 passed later in the same session unintentionally included a Scribner's error, altering the definition to include urban political subdivisions. This bill repeals only the portion of Senate Bill 469 that enacted an erroneous definition of rural water, while retaining the correct definition from House Bill 3582 as the controlling language of the statute. Senate Bill 971 will ensure future state funding is properly allocated for water projects to eligible rural communities across the state. With that, Mr. President, I move suspension.
Senator Sparks moves suspension of the regular order of business on Senate Bill 971. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading Senate Bill 971. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 971, relating the definition of a rural political subdivision for purposes of the Texas Water Assistance Program.
Senator Sparks is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to engrossment.
Senator Sparks moves passage to engrossment. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Sparks is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. So moved.
Senator Sparks moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckert, Flores.
There being 30 ayes, 0 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage Senate Bill 971. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 971, relating the definition of a rural political subdivision for purposes of the Texas Water Assistance Program.
Senator Sparks, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage for Senate Bill 971.
Senator Sparks moves final passage of Senate Bill 971. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton.
There being 30 ayes, 0 nays, the bill is finally passed.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Senator Perry, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on Senate Bill 263.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Senate Bill 263 confirms an existing franchise tax provision applicable to broadcasting and clarifies what broadcasting means with respect to the inclusion of franchise tax. If there are no questions this time, I move to suspend the constitutional and regular order of business to take up Senate Bill 263.
Senator Perry moves suspension of the regular order of business on Senate Bill 263. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading Senate Bill 263. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 263, relating the computation of the cost of goods sold by television and radio broadcasters for purposes of the franchise tax.
Senator Perry, you're recognized for a motion.
Move passage to engrossment, Senate Bill 263.
Senator Perry moves passage to engrossment. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Perry is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Move to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule. Bills be heard on 3 separate days.
Senator Perry moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckert.
There being 30 ayes, 0 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage Senate Bill 263. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 263, relating to the computation of the cost of goods sold by television and radio broadcasters for purposes of the franchise tax.
Senator Perry is recognized for a motion.
Move final passage of Senate Bill 263.
Senator Perry moves final passage of Senate Bill 263. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckert.
There being 30 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is finally passed.
Thank you, members.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on SCR 9.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move suspension of the constitutional and regular orders of business to take up and consider at this time Senate Concurrent Resolution 9. Members, SCR 9 has to do with the United States Supreme Court. As you are probably aware, the Supreme Court has had 9 members since 1869. At various times over the years when one party will have control of the legislative and executive branches, but maybe not see the courts going the way they like it, there's a temptation for the Congress and the President to expand the number of Supreme Court justices and thus change the balance of power, if you will, on the Supreme Court. It's been discussed many times over the years. And so this resolution would say, 9 justices are working well. We should take this matter and enshrine it in the Constitution. So as a practical matter, this would urge Congress to propose and submit to the states for ratification the Keep 9 Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And I'll just give you 2 quotes as I end my motion to suspend. This first quote, 9 seems to be a good number. If anything would make the court appear partisan, it would be that one side saying when we're in power, we're going to enlarge the number of judges so we'll have more people who will vote the way we want them to. So I am not at all in favor of that solution to what I see as a temporary situation. That quote from Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and one more quote. You can cavalierly talk about packing or stacking the court. You can cavalierly talk about doing this or doing that. At some point, the institution is going to be compromised. By doing this, you continue to chip away at the respect of the institutions that the next generation is going to need if they're going to have a civil society. That quote from Justice Clarence Thomas. There may be a few things that those 2 judges agreed on, but they were right about this one. And so with that, I move suspension of the constitutional regular order of business.
Senator Hughes moves suspension of the constitutional order and the regular order of business on SCR 9. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Urquhart, Flores, Gutierrez.
There being 27 ayes and 3 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out the following resolution. The Secretary will read the resolution.
SCR 9, urging Congress to propose and submit to the states for ratification the Keep 9 Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Senator Hughes is recognized for a motion.
Mr. President, I move adoption of SCR 9.
Senator Hughes moves adoption of the resolution. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Urquhart, Flores, Gutierrez, Hagenbu.
There being 27 ayes and 3 nays, the resolution is adopted. Thank you, Senator Hughes.
Mr. President, thank you, members.
Senator Blanco is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 914.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business and constitutional rule to take up and consider at this time committee substitute for Senate Bill 914. SB 914 is bracketed to the city of Alpine by amending the election code to allow the city to change its May general election date to the November uniform election date. Mr. President, I move suspension of the regular order of business and constitutional rules to take up and consider committee substitute Senate Bill 914.
Senator Blanco moves suspension of the constitutional order and the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 914. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading committee substitute for Senate Bill 914. The Secretary will read the caption.
Committee Substitute Senate Bill 914 relating to authorizing certain cities to change the date on which their general election for officers is held.
Senator Blanco, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to engrossment of Committee Substitute Senate Bill 914.
Senator Blanco moves passage to engrossment. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Blanco is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Senator Blanco moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 30 ayes and 0 nays, the rules are suspended. The chair lays out on third reading and final passage Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 914. The Secretary will read the caption.
Committee Substitute Senate Bill 914 relating to authorizing certain cities to change the date on which their general election for officers is held.
Senator Blanco, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage, Committee Substitute Senate Bill 914.
Senator Blanco moves final passage of Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 914. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton.
There being 30 ayes, 0 nays, the bill is finally passed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members.
Dean Zaffarini is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on Senate Bill 766.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and members, I move to suspend the Senate's regular order of business and the constitutional order of business in order to take up and consider at this time Senate Bill 766 relating to the correction of references to the Texas Natural Resource Conservation Commission. Generally, members, this bill would simply replace the more than 100 instances to the agency's previous name to its current name since 2004, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Mr. President, I move suspension.
Dean Zaffarini moves suspension of the constitutional order and the regular order of business on Senate Bill 766. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading Senate Bill 766. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 766 relating to the correction of references to the Texas Natural Resource Conservation Commission.
Dean Zaffarini, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to engrossment.
Dean Zaffarini moves passage to engrossment. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Dean Zaffarini is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the constitutional rule that bills be heard on 3 several days.
Dean Zaffarini moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 30 ayes and 0 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage Senate Bill 766. The Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 766 relating to the correction of references to the Texas Natural Resource Conservation Commission.
Dean Zaffarini, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage.
Dean Zaffarini moves final passage of Senate Bill 766. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 30 ayes, 0 nays, the bill is finally passed.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Senator Perry is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 1066.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Senate Bill 1066 updates the payments and performance bonds thresholds to $150,000 for public works under Parks and Wildlife contract. Due to inflationary costs, that's excluding small vendors or small contractors to do small projects from the process requiring that bond. With that, I'll move that we suspend the regular order as well as the constitutional rules to take up Senate Bill 1066.
Senator Perry moves suspension of the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 1066. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading committee substitute for Senate Bill 1066. The secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 1066 relating to the requirement for performance and payment bonds from certain contractors of the Parks and Wildlife Department.
Senator Perry, you're recognized for a motion.
Move passage to engrossment.
Senator Perry moves passage to engrossment. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Perry, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Move to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Senator Perry moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart.
There being 30 ayes and 0 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage committee substitute for Senate Bill 1066. The secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 1066 relating to the requirement for performance and payment bonds from certain contractors of the Parks and Wildlife Department.
Senator Perry, you're recognized for a motion.
Move final passage committee substitute Senate Bill 1066.
Senator Perry moves final passage committee substitute for Senate Bill 1066. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton.
There being 30 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is finally passed.
Thank you, member.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on Senate Bill 688.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the constitutional and regular orders of business on Senate Bill 688 to take up and consider at this time. Remember, Senate Bill 688 deals with the election count process. Back in 2022, Congress passed the Election Count Reform Act to clarify how electoral votes are cast and counted. One key change they made was to move the Electoral College meeting date to the first Tuesday after the second Wednesday in December. Now, the Texas Election Code was in compliance with federal law before this change was made, and we just need to update it to reflect the change. So Senate Bill 688 will do this. It will move the date that Texas electors meet from Monday to Tuesday, aligning us with federal law since they have a lot to do with the Electoral College. That's all the bill does, and I move suspension.
Senator Hughes moves suspension of the constitutional order and the regular order of business on Senate Bill 688. Is there objection? Hearing none, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading Senate Bill 688. Secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 688 relating to the date of the meeting of presidential electors of this state.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage to engrossment.
Senator Hughes moves passage to engrossment. Is there objection? Hearing none, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Hughes is recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move suspension of the constitutional rule. The bills be read on 3 several days.
Senator Hughes moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores.
There being 30 ayes, 0 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage Senate Bill 688. The secretary will read the caption.
Senate Bill 688 relating to the date of the meeting of the presidential electors of this state.
Senator Hughes, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move final passage.
Senator Hughes moves final passage of Senate Bill 688. The secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton.
There being 30 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is finally passed. Thank you, Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members.
Senator Betancourt, you're recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional order and the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 569.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 569 is a refile of Senate Bill 1861, my virtual education legislation that we passed out of the Senate last week and now passed out, last session, and passed out of the Senate Committee on Education unanimously. The bill creates a single unified section of the code to provide flexibility, accessibility, and reactivity for our Texas students needed to succeed through digital learning. It's language based upon unanimous and bipartisan recommendations of the Texas Commission on Virtual Education. It allows for individual, virtual, hybrid courses, virtual and hybrid programs, virtual and hybrid campuses, virtual and hybrid, any combination, while accounting for parent, student, teacher and teachers' rights, providing accountability and state support through funding, professional development, technical support. Mr. President, we have a cohort now numbering 51,000 students that really excel in virtual learning. And with that, I move for the suspend the rules to pass committee substitute Senate Bill 569.
Senator Betancourt moves suspension of the constitutional order and the regular order of business on committee substitute for Senate Bill 569. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Bardwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores, Gutierrez.
There being 28 ayes and 2 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on second reading committee substitute for Senate Bill 569. The Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 569 relating to the provision of virtual education in public schools under certain waivers and modifications of the Commissioner of Education to the method of calculating average daily attendance in an emergency.
Senator Betancourt, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of committee substitute of Senate Bill 569 to third reading.
Senator Betancourt moves passage to engrossment. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Bardwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores, Gutierrez, Hagenbu, Hall, Hancock.
There being 28 ayes and 2 nays, the bill is passed to engrossment. Senator Betancourt recognized for a motion to suspend the constitutional 3-day rule.
So moved, Mr. President.
Senator Betancourt moves suspension of the 3-day rule. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Bardwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores, Gutierrez, Hagenbu.
There being 28 ayes and 2 nays, the rules are suspended. Chair lays out on third reading and final passage of committee substitute for Senate Bill 569. The Secretary will read the caption.
Committee substitute Senate Bill 569 relating to the provision of virtual education in public schools in certain circumstances.
Senator Betancourt, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the 51,000 students currently using virtual education and the soon-to-be 100,000 students using virtual education, I move final passage of the committee substitute Senate Bill 569.
Senator Betancourt moves final passage of committee substitute for Senate Bill 569. The Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Bardwell, Blanco, Campbell, Cook, Creighton, Eckhart, Flores, Gutierrez.
There being 28 ayes and 2 nays, the bill is finally passed.
Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Senator Hinojosa, are you ready on SCR 13? Senator Betancourt, you're recognized. For what purpose?
Mr. President, I have to object to this freshman resolution. Don't we have something else to do? Don't we have to be somewhere else? You're calling on, this rookie to deliver what obviously is a seriously important document. I'm just not sure he's ready for it.
Senator Betancourt, we have a tremendous amount of business on the dais today. For what purpose do you rise? To object?
I rise to object to the layout of this next resolution.
Chair recognizes Senator Hinojosa of Nueces for a response.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator, for your concern. I object to your objection.
I've never heard of an objection to an objection, but there's got to be some parliamentary motion to this. I refer the matter to the chair, Mr. President. I mean, to your presidency.
Senator Hinojosa, due to the overwhelming number of objections to you presenting, being recognized on SCR 13, you're not recognized on SCR 13.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Maybe tomorrow. Chair lays out the following resolution. The Secretary will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 245 by Alvarado, congratulating U.S. Army Brigadier General Joe E. Ramirez, Jr. on his retirement as Vice President for Student Affairs at Texas A&M University.
Chair recognizes Senator Alvarado on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Please join me in congratulating Brigadier General Joe E. Ramirez on his retirement as Vice President for Student Affairs at Texas A&M University. In the gallery, we have retired Brigadier General Joe Ramirez, his wife Teresa Ramirez, his daughter Jessica and her husband Nico, son Jason, and grandchildren Liam, Ryan, Jill, and Mia. General Ramirez, a native Houstonian from Magnolia Park in Houston's East End, earned his bachelor's degree from Texas A&M, where he was the Corps of Cadets of the Fightin' Texas Aggie Band. He later received his master's degree from both Webster University and the U.S. Army War College. He served his country for 31 years in Army, holding posts such as Deputy Chief of Staff at U.S. Central Command during Operations Iraq Freedom and Enduring Freedom, Deputy Division Commander for the 2nd Infantry Division in South Korea, and Deputy Director at U.S. European Command in Germany. In 2010, General Ramirez became the 45th Commandant of the Texas A&M Corps of Cadets. As Commandant, he oversaw the largest growth in the Corps since the 1970s. In 2021, A&M appointed him Vice President for Student Affairs, where he served until January 1st of this year. In retirement, Joe will have plenty of time to spend with his wife, Teresa, their 5 children, 4 step-grandchildren, and 8 grandchildren. I speak for all of us here on the Senate floor when I say we are deeply appreciative for your lifetime of service to our country. Your contributions to the United States, the state of Texas, and to individuals all over the world have not gone unnoticed. And also, he is cousin to the late State Senator Mario Gallegos. Some of you may remember meeting Joe in the past. Mario was very proud of him. Congratulations, Joe, on your well-deserved retirement.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none. The resolution is adopted. Members, we have a memorial resolution. Please take your seats. Chair lays out the following resolution. The secretary will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 258 by Miles et al. Whereas the life of an esteemed lawmaker and public servant drew to a close with the passing of the Honorable Sylvester Turner on March 5, 2025, at the age of 70. And whereas Congressman Turner's monumental career encompassed service as a state legislator, as the mayor of Houston, and as a member of the United States House of Representatives, and the ideals that guided all of his work were forged in the Bayou City's Acres Homes neighborhood where he was raised. Born on September 27, 1954, he shared a two-bedroom house with his parents and 8 siblings in his early years. While watching the Kennedy-Nixon debates with his family as a small boy, he resolved to become a lawyer and public servant, beginning his lifelong commitment to helping others. His father, a commercial painter, died when he was just 13, and his mother continued to support the family as a housekeeper at the Rice Hotel. Although neither of his parents received a diploma, he became student body president and valedictorian at Klein High School, and he went on to graduate from the University of Houston and Harvard Law School. And whereas Congressman Turner began his career as a trial lawyer with the Fulbright and Jaworski firm, and later co-founded Barnes & Turner, a practice focused on commercial law and personal injury litigation. In addition, he taught at the Texas Southern University Thurgood Marshall School of Law, at the South Texas College of Law, and in the University of Houston Law School Continuing Legal Education Program. And whereas first elected to the Texas House of Representatives in 1988, Congressman Turner was returned to office 13 times and served 3 terms as Speaker pro tem. He helped shape fiscal policy during more than 2 decades on the House Appropriations Committee and multiple terms as chair of its subcommittee on criminal justice. Moreover, he distinguished himself in his duties as a member of the Legislative Budget Board and as chair of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus and the Greater Houston Area Legislative Delegation. Known for his eloquence and his ability to work across the aisle, he secured passage of such important legislation as a 2007 children's health insurance measure. His passion for health care, education, human services, consumer rights, and juvenile justice earned him recognition as the conscience of the House. And whereas Congressman Turner was elected to the first of 2 terms as Houston mayor in 2015, he guided the city through a period of unprecedented challenges, among them Hurricane Harvey and 6 other federally declared disasters, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. Early in his tenure, he strengthened finances by crafting a solution for the mounting pension debt crisis. He also promoted sustainability, bolstering the city's status as the energy capital of the world. Addressing violent crime and mental health, he launched the One Safe Houston initiative, and other important programs included Hire Houston Youth, One Clean Houston, and Complete Communities, which fostered economic advancement through revitalization of underserved areas. In addition to his other responsibilities, he provided national leadership in urban policy as chair of the Global Resilient Cities Network, Climate Mayors, and the African American Mayors Association, and he was a trustee of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And whereas in 2024, citizens elected him to Congress to represent the historically significant 18th Congressional District, and he served as a member of the Homeland Security and the Science, Space, and Technology Committees. During his time in office, he maintained the incomparable work ethic and whirlwind pace that defined his entire career, devoting himself to the lawmaking process, staying in close touch with constituents, and participating in numerous neighborhood and community-wide events in Houston. He also set aside time to attend the Church Without Walls, where he worshiped for well over 3 decades, and he rarely missed a Sunday service, even while undergoing cancer treatment. He was a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and remained a proud Acres Home resident. And whereas dedicated to bridging divisions and creating vibrant communities for all, Sylvester Turner demonstrated visionary leadership that greatly benefited the city of Houston and the wider state of Texas. and his legacy will continue to inspire all those who seek to follow in his footsteps. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Senate of the 89th Texas Legislature hereby honor the memory of Congressman Sylvester Turner and extend sincere condolences to the members of his family, to his daughter, Ashley Turner Captain, and her husband, Jimmy, to his grandson, Jameson Captain, and to his other relatives and many friends, and be it further resolved that an official copy of this resolution be prepared for his family, and that when the Senate adjourns this day, it do so in memory of Congressman Turner.
Chair recognizes Senator Miles on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Ms. Patsy. Members, as we know, we lost a giant in Texas politics last week, the Honorable Sylvester Turner. He was a Houston native, the sixth of 9 children, and was raised in Acres Homes in Northwest Houston. He was part of a working class family. His father was a commercial painter, and his mother, in her early days, worked at Rice Hotel. After graduating from Klein High School as valedictorian, Sylvester graduated magna cum laude from the University of Houston and then received his law degree from Harvard Law School. In 1988, Turner was elected to the Texas House, where he served as Texas legislator for 27 years. As a respected bipartisan leader, he served 21 years in the House Appropriations Committee and 6 years as Speaker Pro Tem, helping shape the state's fiscal policy and balancing multiple budgets, often with the trademark his abacus in hand. He was elected in 2016 to Houston's mayor and guided the city of Houston through 7 federally declared natural disasters, including Hurricane Harvey, as well as COVID-19 pandemic. He also championed pension climate action plans and reinforced the city's status on energy capital of the world. Tackled illegal dumping, revitalized underserved areas through the public and private partnerships, and created the Higher Houston Youth Program, which provided more than 20,000 jobs for young people. Last year, he was elected to serve for Congress for District 18, a seat long held by the transformative leader as Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland, and Congressman Craig Washington. He was a lifelong public servant with more than 37 years of service to the city of Houston, the state of Texas, and our nation. He was a definition of a servant leadership and an outspoken fighter for the people. My heart goes out to his daughter, Ashley, and his family who he loved, and to his grandson, Jameson, for whom he truly, truly loved. Members, I move to adopt SR 258 in memory of the Honorable Sylvester Turner, and that we adjourn in memory of him and his legacy on this day, March 13th, 2025. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank all of you members.
Chair recognizes Senator Alvarado to speak on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, Senator Miles, thank you. You and I and Senator West just left the west steps of the Capitol, where we greeted Ashley and the family and our friend Sylvester. You know, they say you can tell a lot about a person by the company they keep. And if you looked out there, you wouldn't have known if Sylvester was a Democrat or Republican, because it was a bipartisan group of legislators out there waiting to greet our friend. And that was, he was known for that. Senator Creighton, he was such a bipartisan person during that time that Speaker Craddock was in office. Sylvester was one of those called a Craddock D. Lois, you know what I'm talking about. And the other day, Senator Kolkhorst and I, during work group, she was telling me a story, and I know I'm not going to steal her thunder, but she'll tell y'all. We were talking about one of his famous sayings during the appropriations process, and then just a few days later, we learned of his passing. It's hard to believe we've lost in Houston 2 members of Congress back to back. I don't know when that's ever happened. Sheila Jackson Lee and now Sylvester Turner. Sly was a true Houston original, so proud of where he came from, Acres Homes. Throughout his career, he worked to keep Houston from becoming a city of haves and have-nots, one of our common causes. During his over 2.5 decades in the House, he was a force of nature. He showed his grit as a lawmaker while championing the restoration of the system's benefit fund, lowering electricity for hundreds of low-income individuals. As it was said earlier, he shepherded our city through pandemics, through disasters. He loved his city. He loved this institution called the Texas Legislature. Our hearts go out to Ashley and to the family. We honor his successes here and as being mayor. We wish his family that God heals their hearts, comforts their pain. And to our friend Sly, we say, rest in peace, rest in power, my friend. Amen.
Chair recognizes Senator Kolkhorst to speak on the resolution.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Miles, for this resolution. Sylvester was special. My goodness, what an orator he was. He was something else. And if you'll let me just weave a story here, I want to express my heart. Sylvester sat right in front of me on the House floor. So if you walk across this rotunda and you walk in those doors, we sat to the right. And he sat right in front of me, and Charlie Guerin sat to the left of me. That's quite a combination, isn't it? Sylvester and I started to get to know each other really well, and he would always give me a hard time about Washington County because his family, part of his family, came from Chapel Hill. And he would always talk to me about, how's my Chapel Hill doing? And he loved dewberries. And he would always ask me, are the dewberries ripening up? I'm going to stop and buy some. You got anybody selling any dewberries as I drive through? But I would tell you, when I really got to know Sylvester was when I was a sophomore, and we did Articles 4 and 5 together. Articles 1, 4, and 5 together, Chairman Huffman. And it was the year that we started with zeros in the budget. Now, that was historic for sure. Some of you were in the Texas Senate. The base bill was printed with zeros in it. And we built a base bill from there. We worked for so many hours and days that literally we were here every Saturday and Sunday. What I learned about Sylvester during that time was, it was really interesting, Senator Bettencourt, that he could be detailed. One of the questions that came up during that time was to Texas Department of Criminal Justice, how much do you spend on aluminum foil? That's how deep we went into the weeds on that budget. So we crafted that bill, and he definitely was a part of the Craddock D's. He chaired Articles 1, 4, and 5. And through the years, Sylvester taught me so many things, and I want to share 2 stories with you. So the next couple of sessions, we were recovering, and we were able to put things back in the budget. And one of the things that we had done during 2003 was we made chip verification, Senator Johnson, like on a 3-month roll. You had to be verified every 3 months, and you had to go reapply. And then it was 6 months, and finally we got it back to a year. And chip, this was a big deal for Sylvester. And it was going to cost our budget $1 billion. Now, back then, $1 billion was a big deal. It still is, but back then it was unthinkable. I mean, that is unthinkable. And so, I thought, I'm doing Article 3, and so, about rider time, and, we're in conference, and I had the honor of conferencing. He kept coming up to me, and he'd say, I need $4 million for UH downtown, and I need this, and I need this, and I need this. And I finally one day got so mad at him, I said, and he sat right in front of me, so you couldn't escape him. I go, Sylvester, you have the single largest exceptional item in this budget. It's $1 billion. What more do you need? And he looked at me and he said, that was April, this is May, I need more. I want y'all to know that I have carried that as a lesson for all of my life. We literally have it as a motto in our office. So when I have the pleasure of working on some of your projects in Article 2, or maybe through Health and Human Services, I don't give till late, because Sylvester would tell you, that was April, this is May, I need more. I remember one time there was a bill. I hope Secretary Nelson's not listening. I think it was her bill. But it was some inland port, and it was about the time we were doing all that Trans-Texas Corridor stuff, and I wasn't going to vote for any of that. Y'all know I'm principled on my votes. And I turned around to a member, and I go, I think this is a terrible bill. I remember the state rep that was laying out the bill, and I didn't trust him either. And I said, well, we're going to hit a hard no. You know, when the board flashes, and I was just a hard no with the guy behind me or the other member behind me, and we hit a hard no, and you watch that board flash, and it was green, and then it went pling, 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 and it went red. I mean, that thing went red. And Sylvester voted with me, you know? I mean, like a lot of other people. And that member got off that front mic, and he came, and he coming down our aisle, and Sylvester turned around to me, and he goes, Lois Goldcourse, I don't even know why I voted no. It was group dynamics. I just followed the group. He goes, start talking and talking fast. It was so funny. He could have those moments. And, you know, he was a good partner on lots of things. He would really help you. I remember he and his chief of staff, which she actually later worked for me in the Senate, we found that we were giving psychotropic drugs to 2-year-olds. It was called CMAP, and it was a formula that was devised by the pharmaceutical companies, imagine that, where a doctor, it was like an algorithm, Senator Nichols, and between his office and my office, we both kind of said something's wrong here. And I will tell you that we ended up being able to destroy that CMAP and to save children from getting psychotropic drugs and just being drugged. And that's a great example to encapsulate what I think we are in the Texas Senate and the Texas House. An interurban Democrat working with a rural Republican to help our children. Really great. Sylvester could make you laugh, and I'd always fuss at him in committee hearings because he liked to eat candy during committee hearings. So and this is another lesson he taught me, what he would do. And I mean, y'all know some of our long committee hearings and you're like getting hypoglycemic. He'd turn his chair to the back and he'd slip that candy in and eat a little cracker or a little candy. And I'd give him a hard time. I actually still use that method. Like that was April, this was May. He was close to Tom Craddock. And he took some tough votes for Tom Craddock during that time. But this is something that was always burned in my memory. I remember, and Tom was a tough Speaker of the House. Man, he's a deal maker, still is. Man, when Tom Craddock walks on this floor, you better be running because he's coming for something. But Sylvester felt betrayed by Tom on a deal that he thought we had settled on. And I'll never forget that moment when he came off the dais and he walked up to his desk and he grabbed stuff and there were tears in his eyes. And he stormed off the floor, and that's not Sylvester's style. And I went down to his office and we cried together. We cried together. And it wasn't really what it was about, because I can't remember what it was, but that encapsulates a man who came from very little, worked his way to Harvard, became a state representative, became the mayor of the fourth largest city in America, and then continued to serve as a U.S. congressman. All the lessons that Sylvester Turner has taught. I'll remember that moment when he was willing to cry because he cared so much about serving the people that he represented. So, Sylvester, I know you're up there and you're listening to this. I remember your follow the dollar that you taught me. So many lessons. Brilliant man, incredible orator, and someone who loved his community in Texas enough to serve all the way to his death. May God bless the memory of Sylvester Turner, and may he indeed rest in peace.
Chair recognizes Senator Perry on the resolution.
Thank you, members. I wasn't sure I wanted to speak, but I think it's something that Senator Miles will appreciate, I hope, as much as I enjoy telling you. I was a freshman over in the House and actually ended up my sophomore year on appropriations, and Chairman Turner was our work group chairman. And I learned through that process that there are more conservative people sometimes in the Democratic Party than there is Republican Party. He was tough. He could say no pretty regularly. But the way his disarming personality and the way he would include people, especially freshmen, didn't matter what party or where you were from, that was Sylvester. He was going to mentor you if you were willing to be mentored. I mean, he didn't impose himself on you, but he was always there. But I remember, I think it was in sophomore, might have been freshman, you know, over in the House, for those that have never been over there, the front mic big and back mic's a big thing, right? So if you go to the back mic, you're typically challenging the front mic. Well, Sylvester was on the front mic, and he had his abacus out. And I don't even remember what the subject matter was. But we engaged, and I want to say he said it, but somebody said it if he didn't, that, well, I'll just call this a draw. And you guys have heard me speak. I'm not that great of an orator. But for Sylvester to kind of say, I'll just call this a draw, Representative Perry, I knew that I had accomplished something that some people in 20 years over there would never have gotten through. But just fast forward, when Harvey, I think it was, I was in Houston meeting with him over Harvey issues and trying to figure out flood mitigation and prevention and a whole host of things. He was very gracious, and he wanted me involved in that conversation. And I went in, and I remember asking, I said, I know somewhere that abacus exists, and if you haven't given that away to somebody, I'd be more than willing to take it off your hands. And he kind of grinned, as Sylvester had this huge smile. And he looked at me and said, that's in a very special place. Just so you know. When I saw that abacus come out the other day, it brought back so many good things and so much of a humor and sometimes of a very hard conversation. That was Sylvester in a nutshell. He kept everything on balance. He was a serious legislator. He was serious about what he wanted to get done, but at the same time, he just had a way of kind of reminding you, there's a few things that we do on this side, very few things, only one thing that's eternal, but we got to laugh a little bit and live a little bit through that process. So I was very much impacted as a representative freshman, rookie. I'd never been in this Capitol till I was sworn in on the floor of the Texas House of Representatives. If you kind of put your head around that, when I walked on the floor to be sworn in, that was the first time I'd seen the inside of this Capitol. We didn't travel much. You don't travel much when you're poor. But Sylvester was one of those people that took an interest in who you were immediately without any provocation or any designation of who you were while you were there. So he meant a lot to me. He meant a lot to Houston. He meant a lot to people that knew him better than I did. But the abacus is in a special place, Representative Perry, or Chairman Perry was the response. So I just thought you would appreciate that. We're missing, but you know what? The fact that people are talking about you after you're gone in this capacity tells you it wasn't for nothing. He really left a footprint that we all should walk in most days. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator Betancourt to speak on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, Sylvester was a cool head under fire, okay? And Senator Miles, there was a really great story about this. It was Harvey, 2017, and Senator Colcourt, you'll remember, the west side of Houston was flooded because of the release of water from the Addicks and Barker's reservoirs. And In fact, my home precinct and many others on Memorial, Center Alvarado, it looked like Venice, okay? The streets were flooded, but the homes weren't yet, okay? And in fact, there was pretty good evidence that the homes weren't going to be flooded. So, but there was an argument in city administration among emergency management what to do. And the fire chief said, the police chief at the time, who I liked, but he was making the wrong decision, said, let's evacuate everybody. Even though their homes were dry, the power was on, the water was running. And Mr. President, that would have been about 100,000 people from the 610 loop to Highway 6 that had been tossed out of their homes. So as kind of an adjunct member of the team, I heard that argument. I tried to talk the police chief out of it. The fire chief agreed with me, but he wouldn't change his mind. And I picked up the phone, I called Sylvester. I told him what was happening. And with that style of voice, you know, Rodney, that I can't really duplicate it, but he basically said, Paul, I will handle this. And next thing I knew, the Metro Police were not stopping people as they were entering that area. And fortunately, 100,000 people didn't have to move. And that was the type of decision making that Sylvester Turner could make. But after a very long explanation, he literally said, Paul, I will fix this. And 4 words later, 100,000 people didn't have to find a place to sleep. And that's the legacy of Sylvester Turner.
Chair recognizes Senator West to speak on the memorial resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Boris, Senator Miles, other members of this body. I'm not going to be duplicative and repeat what everyone else has said other than say ditto. Us taking this moment to remember Sylvester Turner in this body that he never served. Many of you served with him in the House. Just how special he is. Some of the younger members in this body that didn't have a chance to serve in the House, I didn't have a chance to serve in the House either. But I got a chance to meet Sylvester Turner before becoming a state senator. I can recall when I became a senator, I had to figure it all out because I didn't have any House experience, and I needed to kind of figure out how to work with the House. So you model yourself after different persons, be they Democrats or Republicans. One of the persons that I modeled myself after was Sylvester Turner, given that he was a brilliant lawyer, well thought of in the legal profession. And then you looked at the way that he related to other members. You're right, Lois. He looked at the member. He built coalitions based on interests, not necessarily party affiliation. And I can tell you that when we ended up having to have that big old blow up in 2003, I think that's when it was, and he stayed here and several other Democrats stayed here. Many Democrats were very upset with him. I had the opportunity to visit with him after coming back from Mexico, kind of get his impression in terms of why he stayed. Frankly, I won't go into the details of what he said, but it made sense. It made so much sense that, again, many of us have modeled our behavior after Sylvester in terms of relating to other members. What he said impacted me in terms of working with colleagues here in the legislature, working with the leadership of the legislature, finding common interests. So as we remember Sylvester today, let's make certain we don't forget him. Let's make certain that some of the lessons that he taught some of the senior members here in this body, that we make certain that some of the newer members have the advantage of hearing what that was about and how we use those lessons so we can continue to pass it on. His legacy, not only for Houston, but for this country, will be that the talents that, you know the master servant piece in the Bible? where the master gave all the different talents. And he said, one day I'm going to come back and I'm going to figure out what you did with the talents that I gave you. I won't go into all the details of it, but the master's come back for Sylvester and ask him to account for the talents that he was given. And I assure you that the master is saying, job well done, my good and faithful son. Sylvester, rest in peace.
The chair recognizes Senator Parker to speak on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Senator Miles for bringing forward this so critical of a resolution to honor his incredible life. Sylvester was bigger than life. For those of you who didn't know him, it's a real loss for you not to have known him. For those of us that got to know him and work with him in the House, he just was spectacular in every way. He cared so deeply about his people that he represented. He cared so deeply about his family. For years, he sat behind me on the floor, and at that time, my desk mate was none other than the former Speaker, Tom Craddock. And you can imagine the fellowship, the times we shared, the emotion was so deep when he cared about policy that affected the constituents he was so blessed to represent. And he always was so passionate about his family, about Ashley and the family as a whole. His heart was always with them. And it didn't matter whether or not he was serving in the House or when he was mayor of Houston, we still maintained an incredible friendship all those years. During Harvey and all the various things that would occur over those 8 years he served as mayor, he was always so responsive. Whenever there were issues or challenge, he always was there to lend a helping hand. And so I just want to let everyone know that didn't know Sylvester, what an incredible human being he was. And that we lost one of the most special people we ever have had walk the face of the earth. He cared so deeply. He loved everyone. Doesn't matter whether or not you're a Democrat or Republican, the way he would come alongside every freshman lawmaker and that House representatives, regardless of party, and get to know them and to care about them and to try to help them. I'll never forget some of the things that he would do in teaching you about the parliamentarian process and ways to get things done most effectively in the House. And as you've heard, you go back and listen to some of the tapes on various big debates over the years in the House, there was no more passionate or better orator that has ever walked on the floor of the House chamber. Truly, there's not been. And so I just know that he's looking down upon his family and all of us and this great state that he loved. And I know heaven's a better place because Sylvester Turner's there. And we pray for him and his soul. We pray for his family. And may God bless him and his memory. Thank you, Senator Miles.
Chair recognizes Senator Miles to close on the memorial resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, members, again. Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt Resolution 258 in memory of the Honorable Sylvester Turner, gone but will never be forgotten. We adjourn in memory of his legacy of a great, great public servant. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would all those in favor of the resolution please rise? Resolution is adopted. Following motion in writing, the Secretary will read the motion.
Motion in writing. Mr. President, I move to suspend Senate Rule 11.13 so that committees may meet during the reading and referral of bills. Motion by Zaffarini.
Is there objection? Hearing none, motion's adopted. Senator West, for what purpose?
Mr. President, I would move that the remarks made for the resolution from Senator Miles to be reduced to writing and spread upon the journal.
Is there objection? Hearing none, motion's adopted. Members, the President's desk is clear. Are there any announcements?
Senator Hughes for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Committee on State Affairs will resume its hearing which began this morning on the posted agenda. We will resume at noon in the Senate chamber today, March 13th.
Senator Creighton, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move to suspend the 24-hour posting rule in accordance with Rule 1110 and any other relevant rules so the Senate Committee on Education K through 16 can meet today, March 13th, 2025, upon adjournment in the Betty King Room 2E.20 to consider pending business. Members, upon adjournment. Mr. President and members, if there are no questions, I move suspension.
Senator Creighton, we have some referrals. Can you give a time certain?
(11:45) Betty King Room, Senate Committee on Education K through 16.
Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted. Chair recognizes the Dean of the Senate for a highly privileged motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and members, pending the reading and referral of bills today, I move that the Senate recess until 2 p.m. Monday, March 17th for the reading and referral of bills at that time. Upon the conclusion of the reading and referral of bills on Monday, I further move that the Senate adjourn until 11 a.m. on Tuesday, March 18th, in memory of United States Congressman Sylvester Turner, constituent of Senator Boris Miles.
Is there objection? The chair hears none. Senate stands in recess until 2 p.m. Monday, March 17th for the reading and referral of bills. Upon the conclusion of the reading and referral of bills on Monday, the Senate will stand adjourned until 11 a.m. Tuesday, March the 18th.
Senate Bill 1701 by Parker relating to the Healthcare Professional Education Fund, Education K through 16. Senate Bill 1702 by Parker et al. Relating to a parent's right to receive notice each time the parent's child obtains a school library material, Education K through 16. Senate Bill 1703 by Parker relating to the authority of certain municipalities to receive certain tax revenue derived from a hotel and convention center project, to economic development. Senate Bill 1704 by Parker and Huffman, relating to certain rights of crime victims and witnesses and associated persons and to victim impact statements to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1705 by Parker, relating to the regulation of virtual currency kiosks to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1706 by by Hinojosa of Nueces, relating to the authority of the governing board of a state governmental body to conduct a closed meeting to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1707 by Hinojosa of Nueces, relating to a study by the Texas Education Agency regarding standardizing building designs for public schools to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1708 by Hinojosa of Nueces, relating to the effect of the model subdivision rules on an exception to county platting requirements to local government. Senate Bill 1709 by Hinojosa of Nueces, relating to the designation of a portion of Farm to Market Road 70 in Nueces County as the Los Robles Trail to transportation. Senate Bill 1710 by Gutierrez, relating to the creation of the School Violence Victims Compensation Fund to state affairs. Senate Bill 1711 by Gutierrez, relating to prohibiting 3D printed firearms to state affairs. Senate Bill 1712 by Gutierrez, relating to gun storage to state affairs. Senate Bill 1713 by Zaffarini and Eckhart, relating to the authority of a county to dispose of surplus and salvage property to a civic or charitable organization to local government. Senate Bill 1714 by Zaffarini and Eckhart, relating to the provision of solid waste disposal services by certain counties to local government. Senate Bill 1715 by Middleton and Hinojosa of Nueces, relating to the exemption from the franchise tax for certain qualified space companies to finance. Senate Bill 1716 by Middleton, relating to measures to support the enrollment of students with a non-traditional secondary education at public institutions of higher education to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1717 by Middleton, relating to the terminology used in statute to refer to the partially landlocked body of water on the southeastern periphery of the North American continent to state affairs. Senate Bill 1718 by Sparks, relating to the eligibility of the National Rifle Association's annual meetings and exhibits or another event at the National Rifle Association for funding under the Major Events Reimbursement Program to economic development. Senate Bill 1719 by Hughes, relating to the rulemaking power of the Texas Supreme Court to state affairs. Senate Bill 1720 by Eckhart, relating to production fees imposed by the Southwestern Travis County Groundwater Conservation District to water, agriculture, and rural affairs. Senate Bill 1721 by Middleton and Hall, relating to the transfer of the licensing and regulation of charitable bingo to the Texas Commission of Licensing and Regulation to state affairs. Senate Bill 1722 by Middleton and Eckhart, relating to parental leave policies for certain public school classroom teachers to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1723 by Creighton, relating to the establishment of a rapid DNA analysis pilot program to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1724 by Johnson, relating to certain statutory changes to reflect and address same-sex marriages to state affairs. Senate Bill 1725 by Miles, relating to the establishment of the Office of Community Violence Intervention and Prevention to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1726 by Johnson, relating to the Social Work Licensure Compact to Business and Commerce. Senate Bill 1727 by Perry et al., relating to the protection and detention of a juvenile who engages in delinquent conduct to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1728 by Perry, relating to the participation of certain juvenile justice entities in the Jobs and Education for Texans grant program to economic development. Senate Bill 1729 by Miles, relating to the registration and inspection of vehicles to transportation. Senate Bill 1730 by Hall, relating to the recovery of damages for injuries arising out of certain uses of force or deadly force to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1731 by Hinojosa of Nueces and Middleton, relating to a franchise tax exemption for corporations operating a spaceport for certain national defense purposes to finance. Senate Bill 1732 by Hughes, relating to the prescribing and ordering of Schedule II controlled substances and narcotic drug treatment programs to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1733 by Colcourse, relating to the composition of the Board of the Calhoun Port Authority to Transportation. Senate Bill 1734 by West, relating to status of certain documents or instruments purporting to convey title to or an interest in real property to jurisprudence. Senate Bill 1735 by Menendez, relating to the regulation of real estate appraisers and appraisal management companies to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1736 by Menendez, relating to a convenience fee for processing electronic payments for motor vehicles to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1737 by Huffman and Flores, relating to service retirement retirement benefits payable by the Employees Retirement System of Texas to certain law enforcement officers. To finance, Senate Bill 1738 by Huffman, relating to the resumption of service by certain judicial officers under the Judicial Retirement System of Texas Plan 2. To finance, Senate Bill 1739 by West, relating to the use and operation of the Child Care Protection and Enhancement Fund. To finance, Senate Bill 1740 by Parker, relating to the protection of critical components of the electric grid from the damage from electromagnetic threats to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1741 by Parker et al., relating to measures to prevent espionage and intellectual property theft at public institutions of higher education. To education K through 16. Are you having a hard time hearing? I'll try to talk louder. Senate Bill 1742 by Hughes, relating to required instruction in the success sequence for students in public schools. To education K through 16. Senate Bill 1743 by Campbell, relating to the creation of the Office of Inspector General for Education at the Texas Education Agency to investigate the administration of public education. To education K through 16. Senate Bill 1744 by Hughes, relating to the designation of Farmer Market Road 3535 in Camp County as the Camp County Vietnam Veterans Memorial Highway. To transportation, Senate Bill 1745 by Creighton and Hagenbu, relating to the name rights, powers, and privileges of the Cedar Port Navigation and Improvement District. To transportation, Senate Bill 1746 by Creighton and Hagenbu, relating to the relocation or removal of dredge spoils or materials by Navigation District. To transportation, Senate Bill 1747 by Alvarado, Cook, and Eckhart, relating to coverage for screening mammograms. To Health and Human Services, Senate Bill 1748 by Alvarado, relating to notice for certain defendants regarding the unlawful possession or acquisition of a firearm. To State Affairs, Senate Bill 1749 by Creighton, relating to the confidentiality of certain information for employees of a county, a court, or the Office of Court Administration. To Business and Commerce, Senate Bill 1750 by Paxton, relating to instructional facilities funding for certain open enrollment charter schools. To education K through 16. Senate Bill 1751 by Paxton, relating to the definition of licensing authority as it relates to the collection of certain licensing information. To Health and Human Services, Senate Bill 1752 by Johnson, relating to status offenses committed by a child. To Criminal Justice, Senate Bill 1753 by Blanco, relating to requiring contracts with Medicaid managed care organizations to permit the organizations to offer certain mental health or substance use services. To Health and Human Services, Senate Bill 1754 by Birdwell, relating to the authority of a taxing unit to enter into an agreement to exempt from ad valorem taxation a portion of the value of property on which a renewable energy facility is located. To Economic Development, Senate Bill 1755 by Birdwell, relating to the facility or location at which public school pre-kindergarten classes may be provided in partnership with a private entity. To education K through 16. Senate Bill 1756 by Birdwell, relating to the authority of certain municipalities to use certain tax revenue for hotel and convention center projects. To Economic Development, Senate Bill 1757 by Birdwell and Johnson, relating to the operation of rock crushing facilities. To Natural Resources, Senate Bill 1758 by Birdwell and Hagenbu, relating to the operation of a cement kiln and the production of aggregates near a semiconductor wafer manufacturing facility. To Natural Resources, Senate Bill 1759 by Birdwell, relating to the declaration of an oil or gas emergency by the Railroad Commission of Texas. To Natural Resources. Senate Bill 1760 by Zaffarini, relating to guardianships of persons who are incapacitated. To Jurisprudence, Senate Bill 1761 by West, relating to the collection of certain incident-based data reported to the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. To Criminal Justice, Senate Bill 1762 by Blanco, relating to geothermal energy conservation wells. To Business and Commerce, Senate Bill 1763 by Hughes, relating to the production and ownership of brine. To Natural Resources, Senate Bill 1764 by Cook and Alvarado, relating to accountability interventions for certain school districts with low-performing campuses. To education K through 16. Senate Bill 1765 by Cook, relating to the creation of a task force to evaluate the housing needs of senior citizens who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning. To Health and Human Services, Senate Bill 1766 by Cook, relating to a study by the Texas Center for Nursing Workforce Studies Nursing Advisory Committee on school nurse staffing. To education K through 16. Senate Bill 1767 by Cook, relating to the employment of full-time registered nurses at public schools. To education K through 16. Senate Bill 1768 by Cook, relating to a health impact assessment for certain transportation projects of the Texas Department of Transportation. To Transportation, Senate Bill 1769 by Cook, relating to the use of state money for high-speed rail operated by a private entity. To Finance, Senate Bill 17 1770 by Cook relating to the accommodation of pedestrians, bicyclists, persons with disabilities, children, senior citizens, users of public transportation, movers of commercial goods, and motorists on streets and highways to transportation. Senate Bill 1771 by Hughes relating to compliance of certain aeronautics structures with federal law to transportation. Senate Bill 1772 by Zaffarini relating to the designation of a portion of Farm to Market Road 2360 in Starr County as the Jose Maria Longoria Senior Memorial Highway to transportation. Senate Bill 1773 by Miles relating to the enforcement of municipal rules, ordinances, or police regulations prohibiting illegal dumping to local government. Senate Bill 1774 by Miles relating to increasing the criminal penalty for certain acts of official oppression to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1775 by Miles relating to processes to ensure continuity of care and services for certain offenders to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1776 by Miles relating the payment of certain fines and costs by a defendant to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1777 by Miles relating to prohibition on payments for certain group home referrals to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1778 by Miles relating to the use of telemedicine services in the juvenile justice system to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1779 by Miles relating to issuance of a transcript by a public institution of higher education to a student who fails to pay certain student fees to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1781 by Miles relating to a franchise tax credit for taxable entities that provide child care to finance. Senate Bill 1782 by Miles relating to the maintenance or criminal history record information for group home applicants and employees to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1783 by Miles relating to a prohibition on the crushing of contaminated concrete by certain concrete crushing facilities to natural resources. Senate Bill 1784 by Parker relating to notice provided by a healthcare provider before initiating debt collections against a patient to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1785 by Eckhart relating to the confinement in a county jail of certain defendants who are incompetent to stand trial to finance. Senate Bill 1786 by Creighton relating to public higher education to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1787 by Hagenbu relating to the licensing of certain military veterans as healthcare providers to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1788 by Hagenbu relating to establishing a grant program to equip motor vehicles used by peace officers with certain bullet-resistant components to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1789 by Schwartner relating to electric service quality and reliability to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1790 by Campbell relating to the composition of the Comal County Juvenile Board to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1791 by Middleton relating to the effects of unresponsive insurance for a personal automobile insurance policy to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1792 by Middleton relating to the emergency possession of certain abandoned children by designated emergency infant care providers to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1793 by Middleton relating to an annual report by the Comptroller of Public Accounts on certain issues regarding the employment of veterans in this state to Veteran Affairs. Senate Bill 1794 by Middleton relating to interlocutory appeal from certain orders by a political subdivision or an officer or employee of a political subdivision to jurisprudence. Senate Bill 1795 by Middleton relating the process for filling a vacancy on the Board of Trustees of an independent school district to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1796 by Middleton relating to statutory construction to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1797 by Middleton relating to a prohibition against the consideration of race or ethnicity as a factor when appointing the members of a state board to state affairs. Senate Bill 1798 by Middleton and Schwartner relating to the resident status, tuition rates, and certain financial support for students enrolled at public institutions of higher education to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1999 by Middleton relating to revision or elimination of the motor vehicle emissions inspection and maintenance program to natural resources. Senate Bill 1800 by Middleton relating to creating the criminal offense of abandoning a resident of an assisted living facility during a declared state of disaster to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1801 by Sparks relating to the composition, duties, and personnel of the Moore County Juvenile Board to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1802 by Alvarado relating to a landlord's duty to repair or remedy certain conditions to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1803 by Alvarado relating to a franchise tax credit for taxable entities that subsidize child care costs to finance. Senate Bill 1804 by Alvarado relating to restitution and compensation paid to victims of certain offenses for tattoo removal to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1805 by Sparks relating to the administration of and procedures relating to early voting by personal appearance to state affairs. Senate Bill 1806 by Sparks relating to the inspection, purchase, sale, possession, storage, transportation, and disposal of petroleum products to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1807 by Zaffarini relating to the confidentiality of certain personal information of an applicant for a person protected by a protective order to state affairs. Senate Bill 1808 by Hughes relating to the dissolution of the Rose City Municipal Utility District to local government. Senate Bill 1809 by Flores relating to the creation of the offense of fraudulent use or possession of a gift card or gift card redemption information to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1810 by Schwartner relating to annual statistical reports for fixing title insurance premium rates to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1811 by Menendez and Campbell relating to the use of extrapolation by a health maintenance organization or an insurer to audit claims to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1812 by Campbell and Menendez relating to prior authorization for prescription drug benefits related to the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1813 by Middleton relating to the delegation of certain authority of a county judge in certain counties to local government. Senate Bill 1814 by Hancock relating to creation and maintenance of an electronic database to provide information to certain members of the United States Armed Forces regarding the resources and benefits provided to veterans to Veteran Affairs. Senate Bill 1815 by Hancock relating to the transition of the nurse aid certification program from the Health and Human Services Commission to the Texas Board of Nursing Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1816 by Hancock relating to the titling, registration, and operation of miniature vehicles transportation. Senate Bill 1817 by Hancock relating to the compensation and professional representation of prospective student athletes to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1818 by Hancock relating to the issuance of a provisional license to certain military service members to engage in a business or occupation in this state to Veteran Affairs. Senate Bill 1819 by Colcourse relating to the assessment of public school students in social studies in grade 5 to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1820 by Johnson relating to certain disclosures and other requirements and prohibited conduct relating to the sale of tickets for concerts and other events to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1821 by Johnson relating to notice of the health of children attending a child care facility to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1822 by Johnson relating to the use of artificial intelligence-based algorithms and utilization review conducted for certain health benefit plans to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1823 by Parker relating to the replacement transactions of certain life insurance and annuity contracts from an insurer to a replacing insurer to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1824 by Schwartner relating to the removal of battery energy storage facilities to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1825 by Schwartner relating to fire safety standards and emergency operations plans for the operation of battery energy storage to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1826 by Schwartner and Hinojosa of Nueces relating to career and technology education programs in public schools to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1827 by Parker relating to investigational stem cell treatment to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1828 by Parker relating to human trafficking prevention to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1829 by Parker relating to human trafficking prevention to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1830 by Parker relating to regulating parental reunification therapy and the suit affecting the parent-child relationship to State Affairs. Senate Bill 1831 by Parker relating to the duties of the Texas Maternal Mortality and Morbidity Review Committee to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1832 by Parker relating to providing for an election by the parent of a student who was victimized by a public school employee to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1833 by Parker relating to the use of social media platform in furtherance of an offense involving the delivery of a controlled substance to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1834 by Sparks relating to the adoption of the revised interstate compact for the placement of children by the state of Texas to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1835 by Sparks relating to the maximum number of non-resident scholarship students permitted to pay resident tuition and fees at certain public institutions of higher education to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1836 by Hughes relating to the evaluation of applications for certain financial assistance administered by the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs to local government. Senate Bill 1837 by Hughes relating to interim rates charged by electric utilities during a rate suspension period to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1838 by Zaffarini relating to the appointment of attorneys ad litem and the compensation of certain attorneys ad litem in suits affecting the parent-child relationship to jurisprudence. Senate Bill 1839 by Zaffarini relating to the delivery of a will and probate proceedings transferred to other courts to jurisprudence. Senate Bill 1840 by Zaffarini relating to the disciplinary and investigatory powers of the State Commission on Judicial Conduct to State Affairs. Senate Bill 1841 by Johnson relating to the confidentiality of certain information collected by certain local governments and airport governing boards to transportation. Senate Bill 1842 by Paxton relating to authorizing a credit union to act as a school district depository to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1843 by Paxton relating to the audiology and speech language pathology interstate compact to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1844 by Paxton relating to disannexation of certain areas of a municipality for failure to provide services to local government. Senate Bill 1845 by Hughes relating to the registration as a lobbyist of persons who engage in certain lobbying activities on behalf of a foreign adversary to State Affairs. Senate Bill 1846 by Eckhart relating to money awarded to providers of women's health services and family planning services to Health and Human Services. Senate Bill 1847 by Hughes relating prohibiting contracts or other agreements with certain foreign-owned companies in connection with critical infrastructure in this state to business and commerce. Senate Bill 1848 by Zaffarini relating the disclosure of confidential juvenile records to a managed assigned counsel program to criminal justice. Senate Bill 1849 by Zaffarini relating to repayment of certain mental health professional education loans to education K through 16. Senate Bill 1850 by Zaffarini relating to data collection of truancy case outcomes to criminal justice. Senate Bill 2188 by Hinojosa of Nueces relating to space flight activities to natural resources. Senate Bill 2230 by Hinojosa of Nueces relating to the closure of beaches for space flight activities to natural resources. Senate Bill 2312 by Hughes relating to the establishment and powers and duties of the Texas Advisory Committee on Geopolitical Conflict to State Affairs. Senate Bill 2345 by Schwartner relating to the administration of contributions to and benefits under retirement systems for firefighters to finance. SCR 30 by Huffman, designating Matagorda County as the official birding capital of Texas to administration. SCR 31 by Hughes, designating Mineola as the official sweets capital of Texas to administration. SCR 32 by Hall, directing the Texas Facilities Commission to name the new Transit Amenity Center at 207 West 14th Street in the Capitol Complex, the lead-on transit amenity in honor of Justin Dart to administration. SCR 33 by Parker, urging Congress to preserve sections 45U, 45Y, and 48E of the Internal Revenue Code to business and commerce. SJR 56 by West, proposing a constitutional amendment providing for the creation of the Child Care Protection and Enhancement Fund to finance. SJR 63 by Middleton, proposing a constitutional amendment regarding the terminology used in the Texas Constitution to refer to the partially landlocked body of water on the southeastern periphery of the North American continent to state affairs. SJR 64 by Zaffarini, proposing a constitutional amendment regarding the disciplinary powers of the State Commission on Judicial Conduct to state affairs. SJR 69 by Parker, proposing a constitutional amendment authorizing the Veterans Land Board to issue general obligation bonds in an aggregate principal amount that is greater than amounts previously authorized to Veteran Affairs. SJR 70 by Zaffarini, proposing a constitutional amendment to make gender neutral the constitutional provisions governing the qualification of a person to be a senator or member of the House of Representatives to state affairs. SJR 71 by Hughes, proposing a constitutional amendment prohibiting the imposition of a carbon tax to finance.
Pursuant to a motion previously adopted, the Senate stands in recess until 2 p.m. Monday, March 17th for the reading and referral of bills. And upon the conclusion of the reading and referral of the bills on Monday, the Senate will stand adjourned until 11 a.m. Tuesday, March 18th.